which I'm sure you guys have seen because it was kind of all over the place. I did a video on it and I got sort of blasted for being negative, but it was about Henry Cavill returning for a Man of Steel 2. Now, Warner Brothers are active. They've got a producer. They're actively searching for a writer. Looks like they want to get it going, but they have no one leading the charge anywhere. So I said, it's fine that they're doing this. That's good news, but we could still end up in a big old mess that we currently have. You know, with the DC universe, whatever, all over the place. Different people doing different things, power vacuum. So, you know, it's a chasm of creativity, just people dropping in left, right, and center with all manner of different things. But what do you guys think about that? Tom, have you heard anything about that? Yeah, what's the deal?
As far as which part?
Well, so Warner Brothers looking to do a Man of Steel 2 with Henry Cavill.
Well, yeah, okay. So I did let a little bit out earlier, but from what I've heard, and this is going back to what I initially had heard, was Zaslav really wanted to get Henry Cavill back, but was prepared to go a different route if they had to. I was recently told last month they had worked it out with him, and he's in Black Adam, and they're working on a 4-picture deal with him right now. The rumors going around is that it's going to be called Superman, the next movie. I'm hearing James Gunn maybe directing it, or at least that's who they're trying to get to direct it. I'm not necessarily sold on that, but I'm like, he could do worse.
Hate that idea.
Yeah,
you're right. Wasn't... They could do worse. But
yeah, exactly. But they've been trying. They're really trying to pamper James Gunn over there right now because they wanted him to take over the creative side of things, and he's like, I'm not interested. I'd just rather do my Suicide Squad and my TV series. So I'm not even sure if he'll take Superman on. He might say, "No, that's just not my thing." And he's smart enough that I know if he don't think he can handle it, he'll probably say no. But I don't know if that's the case, but it sounds like it, and I wouldn't be surprised. But for me, it makes me wonder what happened to Highlander, because I know they were supposed to shoot that in April. I don't know if he's shooting it yet.
With Henry Cavill.
So I don't know if something got...
Stileski?
Yeah, I don't know if the funding didn't come through or something happened to where... Because to me, that means a window had to open for Henry to be like, if now's the time if you're going to sign me. Because...
And Witcher? As well.
That's exactly the point, because they knew that he has Witcher, he's got all the these other things that he's signed on to. He's got that Sherlock Holmes thing with Netflix. I mean, he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of stuff. Highlander was set up to be I think he had a possible 3-picture deal there. So like, he's going to be busy for a while, and they wanted somebody for the next 10 years, and 4-picture deal would pretty much fit in the next 10 years, I would say.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6. Yeah, about 10 years. Yeah, 2 years a movie. I'd give or take a little bit. Yeah, you're not wrong. But I mean, what do you Paulie? What do you think of this? Good news, bad news?
Well, first of all, they're on a hunt for writers, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I hear Jenny Gao is available.
Jessica Gao, yeah.
her twin, Jenny.
She-Hulk.
It's a much better.
Oh right, yeah, her twin.
Oh, the good writer.
You know what? Listen, Henry's very popular. I was not a fan of those movies. I think he's solid, but I think Father Time isn't kind to any actor, as far as male, female, time marches on. So if I was Warner, I would definitely get that time whenever you can get that time frame and film at least two, maybe even 3 films back to back with Henry. That would be badass. Like, create this epic storyline. Because I told you earlier, these actors book out, man. These schedules are
honestly, I think it's 2 movies in a Justice League.
Well, it can't just be one. That's what I'm saying, and shoot them back to back. But yeah.
No, I mean, that's what I think the contract will be, like 2 or 3 movies, and then like a Justice League, and then maybe an appearance in another movie.
Right, but what I'm saying, that's cool. But just if they could shoot a whole bunch within a certain time frame.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Paul is
yeah.
talking about literally just trying to utilize him, trying to
Yeah,
lock him
yeah.
down for like 2 years and film
Now,
like 2-3 movies.
Mr. H, have you seen Black Adam yet or no?
No, you know what? Like, I'm genuinely not that interested in it, and I think, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Dwayne Johnson, but and you know what? Like, I thought this was going to be a good movie. Like, I saw when they released the DC fandom bit where he comes out and he like just shish kebab someone's skin off, and I'm like, cool. But then they released the trailer and they just start injecting the Marvel humor into it, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm kind of over this, And then they tease now, literally within the last month, because I know that it literally filmed last month. Henry Cavill's going to be in it, and they, that was only done last month. So huge recent thing. He's going to turn up at the end. It's not a spoiler.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think you said something about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, you know what? Like, it just screams desperation to me. And and I want it to be good, and if it's good and I like it, like, I will give an honest review. I'll tell you. I'd say, look, I put my hands up. I'm wrong, just like I did with Shazam. But I don't get the vibe. So they released the trailer. And it's this, awe-inspiring music, and then cut to jokes, and I'm like, they're two different polar opposites contextually there. So it just feels like schizophrenic,
Yeah, the trailers is not doing it any justice. Get it? But if it's an ensemble piece, it could be fun. I'm a little more interested now than I was, the last few months. Not because of the trailers, just because of The Rock's kind of like, whether it's honest or not, he's you're here for the fans. It's like, I might go check it out. It's not high on my list, but that's my feeling on that.
And I wonder how much it had to get toned down too, because we just recently learned that
they had
to cut it down. Yeah, they had to cut it down for a PG-13.
Well, maybe that's what they released. They released content that would have been R-rated for DC fandom event, because
that's what I was curious about when you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon that's what it's. But you know what I mean? Like, going back to the whole Henry Cavill thing, I mean, this is what I'm concerned about, is that it's going to just, because there is no one controlling DC at the moment, it's just this rudderless ship going in whatever direction the wind blows, which I think is a really good analogy.
Zaslav is kind of de facto running it right now, from what I've heard, but yeah.
But how much is he, though? Because you've got... Matt Reeves is still doing all of his stuff. He's looking to do more movies now, as well as TV series. Not only just the Batman stuff, but other movies on top of it. And so you've just got this big fragmented universe. Again, this ship just blowing in whatever direction.
I don't know what you've heard about the Batman. I've heard it's not so much a done deal as a lot of people are trying to make it out to be.
No, yeah. So you're right. Like, I have heard mixed things. That it's sort of teetering on an edge at the moment, which I think goes hand in hand with why the likes of Colin Farrell is doing so much pushing for it. Saying, Penguin stuff's going to be great. We're shooting it next year.
Yeah, I heard a lot of it's going to have to do with that. Yeah, if that does well, then probably, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's essentially what I've heard. But
otherwise, I heard that that they had been told it has to be shorter, not so dark.
Yeah, I heard that, but which I think is bad. I think them bringing in this fucking time mandate again, not good. Because what's the other company that has this time mandate all the time? It wasn't Warner Brothers before, was it, or was it Sony? Paramount? Who has the time mandate? This weird arbitrary time mandate. I can't remember who it was.
Warner used to have a bad. That's how Justice League wound up the way it was, because they hated movies over 2 hours, and in some cases I agree with them, but in
some, not all.
I did not like the Batman. I hated it. Like, I hated it with a passion. I wanted to leave. I was standing in the hallway for the last half of the movie because I thought the movie was already over, and then the movie just keeps going. But like at this point, from what I posited that if the Penguin does well, I won't be surprised if the Batman gets downgraded to an HBO Max movie, because
I don't
for
think
what
it will. Yeah. Go
I
on.
mean, you
Sorry.
could be right, but I was just saying, for the very reason that you're saying, though, is they don't want any confusion with what's going on the big screen. At the same time, like I've also heard this whole like Snyderverse stuff is they've been in the Snyderverse this whole time. They never left, but the Snyder fans,
Snyder involved.
yeah, they just haven't had Snyder involved. But now what's going to happen is between Flashpoint is it is going to kind of reset things. And that's what Zaslav has been saying. He's been saying the word reset. He hasn't been saying reboot. He's been saying reset a lot. Notice, and that's where he's at. Is he can kind of hopefully get somebody in there to reconfigure this whole thing in a way that works with the actors they have, and possibly replacing some other ones. But I don't see the Batman. The Batman, all that did was confuse them, from what I heard. And I don't know if you caught our video on it, but basically, the Batman is the main reason why they didn't go directly right back to a Snyderverse. Because at that point, it was going to be one or the other. But if the Batman would have flopped, then they would have been like, well, clearly, they just want the Snyderverse, especially after the way the Justice League played for them. But since the Batman did okay, it didn't do great, it did okay, it did pretty good. They're like, okay, well, that shows that they're not as hung up on the Snyderverse as people think. And that's where I think Zaslav came up with this idea of a reset. And again, that's where I'm not so sure that this movie, because I don't think it made enough. They were banking on that movie making $1 billion. That was what I heard. And when it didn't, that was a huge disappointment.
I like the first hour. I just thought...
the first hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours
isn't such a bad detective. It was such a simple crime. Follow the clues, bro.
Well, it ended up becoming Batman Begins all over again. It's almost the exact same plot with the exact same ending. And in some ways, it's also The Dark Knight Rises as well. So it's like, we've seen this already. I mean, I get when people like it. It's cool. I liked some of the cinematography and some of the ideas, but it just could have used a good editing.
Beautiful look at it. I mean, I just think Matt Reeves just, couldn't help himself, and just they needed an editor, man, But yeah, I forgot what my point was. It wasn't just to talk about the Batman, but zoning out here.
Well, I mean, I had a good time.
I know. I'm sorry. I know, Nate.
But as far as Black Adam goes,
I saw it the second time. I did pay for full price the first time. I saw it a second time where it was a private screening, and it was with a bunch of other producers. I remember talking to them afterwards, and they're just like, it's too long, and that's Matt for you, So I thought that was very interesting, where there was just like, that guy just loves his own shots.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Like, I think you definitely could have condensed it down for sure. I mean, I had a good time with it. I'm not going to sit here and defend it, because I fully see nothing to defend. Like, I agree with your stance, but I can't help but like it. I enjoyed that film. But I guess, rounding back to the main point, do you think that there's any good future for DC without anyone actually leading it properly? You say Zaslav's kind of de facto, but I mean, how involved?
No, he wants somebody. He needs somebody. No, clearly he needs somebody.
So do you think Henry Cavill being, coming back for a Man of Steel 2 is a good thing under those circumstances, having no one actually lead?
I think he'll have picked somebody by the end of this year. That's kind of the goal. I had heard December a while back, and then he had kind of said something about that in the whatever you call it, the earnings call, and then I think there was another article that had said something to that effect too, and then it also talked about the 10-year plan, which is also something I'd heard about. They have screened and asked so many people. It just seems to be like one of those things that nobody wants to take on. And the one person that was almost remotely interested, Peter Rice, it sounded like he decided to stay at Disney, and then he got his head cut off there. So I don't know if it's just that he's kind of blackballed right now, because otherwise I can't believe that, unless Zaslav just didn't feel like that was the right guy, because I don't know why he didn't just snake him right up then, because he brought over Alan Horn, and that was one of the few things I disagreed with him on. I'm like, that was a dumb move. Yeah, Alan Horn used to be Alan Horn, but now he's not anymore. I mean, he's one of the prime reasons the Marvel Universe is the reason it's in the shape it's in right now. And you're bringing this guy to help you usher in whoever this new person is to take over DC. Like, that's not a good. He's even talked to Kevin Feige, from what I've heard, and Feige actually thought about it. And so I don't know. He needs somebody creative like that. I was figuring at first it might be somebody from like the toy or video game industry. But we'll have to wait and see, because that's kind of like Feige's background. Is he started as what's his face's assistant, who owns Toy Biz or whatever, the company that bought Marvel back in the day.
I can't remember.
Avi Arad or whatever his name is.
Oh yeah, Avi Arad.
Yeah, and then so through that he got into producing films, and that is who he became.
He's,
so like,
he's the bane of Spider-Man's existence.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm kind of like at that point where I'm like, maybe they'll grab somebody from there. You never know. But it seems like Zaz is really sticking with more industry people. So I don't know if that's a good idea. I think they need a fresh perspective. I think they need, like I said, somebody from either like the PlayStation, somebody like who's high up there, or somebody like that knows some of this stuff, perhaps kind of more in tap with an audience, a different perspective than Hollywood. But then again, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if Paulie has anything to say about that or not, but yeah.
Well, I think having Henry back is great for normies and for purists. I mean, people love him. The problem is we've already put up with the subpar movies. We want Henry to actually play Superman.
Fans now.
What's but so it can't happen again. We can't have another round of Man of Steel and all that. So that goes back to having a capable leader behind the scenes. So it's got to be a really good. It's got to be a good script. Go back to the writing.
Yeah, don't get no Jessica Gao on board. Get rid of Jessica Gao.
Or
Jessica
Jenny.
Gao on the Batman.
Jenny.
Her estranged cousin. Oh dear, right there.